This episode is for the writer who is intimidated by AI, especially as a creative writer. It can feel like ChatGPT is taking over everything, and the creative spaces are feeling the squeeze of technology. You wonder what AI actually means for creative spaces, for your writing, for your story. While I can't cover every aspect of the AI conversation today, I do want to start a dialogue about how to navigate this rapidly advancing technology as it relates to your own creative life. So let's get into it. You are listening to the Memoir Method podcast, the place for writers, readers, and anyone who appreciates the collective power of our stories. In this podcast, we explore the impact of memoir alongside an examination of writing techniques and strategies used in the genre. Whether you are a writer looking for inspiration and guidance or a passionate reader seeking meaningful connections through shared experiences, the Memoir Method podcast is your go-to conversation spot. I'm your host, Charlotte, editor, writer, and the heart behind Charlotte Writes. Let's get started. When ChatGPT exploded into the collective consciousness in early 2023, it was first launched actually in late 2022, but I remember it really just exploding into culture in early 2023, but I had a pretty intense conversation with my husband about it. I held a lot of resistance to AI, and I don't like that AI pulls from existing work and art to create. It feels like stealing, which I think is really gross. And if you knew my husband, you know that he loves to play devil's advocate. And he posed this question, well, what do you think about an AI that could ultimately write an original, compelling story in a way that you couldn't even tell that it was written by a computer? And that made me feel so prickly. Like, I got so intense about this. I leaned into my idealistic creative beliefs that the most impactful books and stories land because they come from real humans. So there's no way that an AI could ever write something on its own that resonates with the reader, something that changes the reader's life. And I got really defensive about creativity and about the creative process. And I did respond in a way to this question that was driven by fear. Because underneath all of this was, what if AI did write something that was indistinguishable from a real person? So while my actual thoughts about AI, this belief about creativity, it has not changed for me, but the way that I engage with AI has changed a little bit, because this does beg the question, what's the point of my work if it could be replicated by artificial intelligence? And that is kind of scary. After actively avoiding AI for several months after this conversation with my husband, I was in a container that taught me how to use ChatGPT as a tool instead of as the creator of whatever it is that you're making. And so that's where I want to help you shift your understanding of artificial intelligence. It is a tool if you want to use it. You don't have to use it if you don't want to, but if you want to, you can effectively use it as a tool and not as the creator. So AI tools like ChatGPT are actually called large language learning models, where this computer program is fed a massive amount of information, and then it pulls on that information to generate answers to the questions that you as the user feed into it. So this is part of the ethical concerns around AI models like ChatGPT, because what it's pulling from is work that has already been created by humans. So if you are using AI to write work for you, to create work for you, it's going to sound and feel surface level, feel reductive, because none of it is actually original. And so the first thing to remember about AI and creative spaces is that AI isn't actually creative at all. It just replicates. It takes information that it already has and it reconfigures it for you. So AI can only pull from what it already knows and doesn't know you, right? The reason you're writing your memoir at all is that you have an inner knowing and you have something unique and impactful to share. AI cannot replicate that. One of the reasons why my memoir method is so distinct from other writing courses that I've seen is that it amplifies your message and your impact through your story. So no memoir that I've worked on has been the same. And while I read a lot of books, nothing that I've worked on with a client has been replicated anywhere else. AI is a replicator. It cannot create something original. So in this conversation with my husband over 2 years ago now, he actually pointed out that working in memoir is AI proof. And I agree with him to an extent because your life is yours and no one else, human or computer, has experienced what you've lived in the way that you've lived it. Part of what I believe will carry us through this AI revolution is the humanity and the impact of our lived stories. And not to veer too far off the path here, but even fiction stories that stem from human creativity and lived life are going to outlast AI work. We are already seeing how AI shows up in content, especially in social media, and it's not engaging. It's not activating. It doesn't connect. It just slides by in a scroll. AI content blends in with everything else around it. And when you focus as a creative on your story and your impact through your words, then you keep you in your manuscript. There's a rawness, there's a roughness there in even the most polished of memoir manuscripts that AI has not been able to replicate. You can tell when something is written by AI. It's so many places right now that you can start to pick it out. AI content does not go deep. It doesn't get into that deeper level that your reader is desiring. And one of the big problems that I see when I work with writers actually is that they don't automatically go deeper. And that's common when we're working with our own stories. Either we assume that the reader can read our minds when they can't, or we're subconsciously too afraid to go to that deeper, more intimate level. But when we do go deeper, we automatically bypass anything that AI could generate. Something that my writers really appreciate about working with me in my high-touch spaces is that I ask those questions that dig deeper, that get to the point, that make their story relevant and resonant with someone else. AI lacks resonance. In its current state, it lacks resonance, and it's been around for 3 years now. Tools like large language models for massive consumption, massive use. We have started to see this shift in how content is made. And even in professional business spaces, I have seen a shift from let's go all AI to, oh wait, let's pull back because it's missing you. And the same is true for your creative writing. I want to talk about using AI as a tool because being in the creative spaces, I've seen a lot of content about and around AI, swinging from it's ushering in the apocalypse, kind of running around like, oh my gosh, what's happening, to this is the only way forward, and if you don't embrace AI, you'll be left behind. I land somewhere in the middle, and I want to invite you to discern how best AI can serve you as a creative. Because the truth is that AI is a tool that you should use to help you, to serve you, not create for you. And when you can see AI as that tool that you can use in specific ways, then you can use it to leverage the creative work rather than drive it. And again, this is only if you want to. You don't have to. If you don't want to use AI in any capacity, you don't have to. AI is a great synthesizer if it's a tool that you want to use. I will actually take transcripts from my calls with writers, and I'll ask ChatGPT to pull out quotes, breakthroughs, and common threads so that I can see my own work more clearly. When I'm working with writers in my memoir method, I actually give them work to do that they could feed into a model like ChatGPT with very specific prompts. They do a lot of their own thinking beforehand, so their inputs into the system are very specific, but I give them specific prompts to give them different angles with which to engage with the foundation of their story. What we create with AI is only a tiny, tiny piece of the work inside of the memoir method. And also, you can do all of that work without AI if you choose to. It is an option, it is a tool if you want to use it. So how you use or do not use AI is completely up to you as the creator. I encourage all writers to use their brains, use their mind when you're writing. I do not ever recommend using AI to write for you for a variety of reasons. The biggest reason is that creative writing works your mind in a way that nothing else can. It is an active intellectual exercise for your brain that rewires it over time. The more you show up to write creatively, the easier you're going to be able to do so and the more connections you're going to make. One of the reasons why I think the advice to show up every day, while I have some issues with that because I'm a person who actually can't show up to her writing every day, but to make a practice of at least showing up consistently is that it works that creative muscle. It forces your brain into a state that is stretchy, that makes you work, where you meet resistance. It's like strength training, where you show up and you keep working, and you're not going to see results after a session of strength training. But after a month of strength training 3 times a week and increasing the weights that you use, you are going to start to see major changes in your body composition and major changes in how strong you are and how strong you feel and how your body feels. The same is true when you show up for writing. And if you bypass that by using AI, you are cheating yourself. You are cutting yourself off at the knees creatively. There's a massive impact that creative writing has on how your brain works and the connections that it can make. As you process your stories and memories through the writing process, through writing regularly and creatively, you can remember new things, you will make new connections, and you will discover new insights that AI actually cannot do. AI can only work with what we give it, and the deep thread of your story can come only through your mind. You are the only one who can really tap into and draw out that deeper impact and message that your story has. Your mind cannot be replicated with a machine. So stretching your creative muscles through practicing the writing craft will yield textured, inimitable writing that will activate your reader and have the power to both start and sustain a conversation with your audience. Using your mind is much more sustainable than AI tools. So like I said about at the top, this conversation about creative nonfiction and AI could span many episodes, and so I'm sure that I will revisit it again. But just remember that your mind is yours. Your story and your message cannot be replicated by AI. And AI is a tool if you want to use it. It should never be the actual creator of content, of writing, of work. If you desire support while working with your memoir, if you're kind of reaching some resistance and feeling like you've gone as far as you can on your own, go ahead and book a free 30-minute call with me. I will link to that in the show notes, and we can talk about what options would be the best for you and your manuscript. I do have some open one-on-one spots this fall, and we can get started as soon as you're ready. So thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for engaging with this AI conversation with me, and I'll see you next time. You've just listened to an episode of the Memoir Method podcast. The Memoir Method podcast is presented by Charlotte Writes. If you liked what you heard, the best way to support the show is to subscribe through your preferred podcast player. And if you're feeling especially inspired, I'd love it if you left a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. Leaving a review really does help other readers and writers like yourself find the show. If you want to continue the conversation, you can find me on my website at charlottewrites.co or on Instagram at charlottejanewrites. Thank you for tuning in. I'll see you next time. And remember that you have a story that matters.